This is the Vacation Rental Success Podcast, keeping you up to date with news, views, information and resources on this rapidly changing short-term rental business. I'm your host, Heather Bayer, and with 25 years of experience in this industry, I'm making sure you know what's hot, what's not, what's new, and what will help make your business a success. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Vacation Rental Success Podcast. This is your host Heather Bayer, and as ever I'm super excited to be back with you once again. This episode is brought to you by Logify, and later in this episode I'm going to be telling you about a fantastic offer Logify is making just for my listeners. You don't want to miss this, so stay tuned. I want to start today by telling you something about my life right now, because I think a lot of you will recognize it. Those of you who listen to me regularly will know this too, that I am deeply, thoroughly immersed in AI. Not just using it, but living in it. My brother-in-law said a while ago to me that he thought I would lose my capacity to think if I spent any more time in AI than I was. And I just said, don't be silly. But, I saw him yesterday and I said, you're right. I think I am losing my capacity to think. No, I'm just joking. I'm not losing my capacity to think. I am creating more time for me to do other things where thinking is required and AI is not involved. But I do spend time every single day in community groups, in forums, and in Substack, my new favourite thing. If you haven't joined my Substack yet, please do. I am posting some really great stuff on AI at the moment, particularly relating to our industry. So there's a link to my Substack in the show notes. Please subscribe. It's completely free, and you get loads of interesting stuff on AI. So, yes, I'm spending lots of time in all of these places. There's WhatsApp groups, there's Discord channels, podcast communities, there's LinkedIn threads. Every single one of them is buzzing with suggestions and discoveries and tools. And I know you don't have the same Facebook feed that I have, because Facebook feeds you the information you want to see. So everything on my Facebook feed is about AI at the moment. And someone might share a workflow they've built. Someone else is posting about a tool they've been testing. And then there's just loads of people who share prompts that apparently produce incredible reports in 30 seconds. So I follow along with all these, and before I know it, I've got 17 browser tabs open. I've created 3 new accounts. I've followed 4 more people, everything in a moment of enthusiasm. And I'm having this growing sense that I'm already behind. I know this feeling. I live it. And I think many of you do too. But here's the thing about being that immersed in it. It's genuinely exciting, but it's also genuinely risky. Not in a dramatic sense, but in a very ordinary human sense. When you're surrounded by people who are enthusiastic about something and the ideas are coming fast and furious, and every new tool sounds more useful than the last one, it's easy to move from, that sounds interesting, to, oh, I'm signing up for that right now, without stopping to ask some fairly important questions. Questions like, so where does my data go when I use this? Or what happens if something goes wrong? And who's going to be watching this workflow once I've set it up? It's a bit like getting sucked in by a Temu ad, and I am a sucker for these ads. Weirdly, they seem to know that I do like my kitchen gadgets. And so along comes this mandolin slicer that's going to change every aspect of my cooking prep. So I get all excited and I send for it. And the day it arrives, I've got to use it straight away. I may have just come in from outside and I've still got my coat on, and I unpack this package and out comes my veggies so I can try it out. Well, yeah, who forgot to read the instructions and use the handguard because I was in a hurry? And I won't go into details, but you know how that ends. But it wasn't a bad tool. It's not a bad tool. It's an excellent tool. But it requires a moment of thought about how to use it safely. And that moment tends to get skipped when you're excited. So today's episode is about that moment of thought, not whether you use AI. That conversation for most people listening is already settled. You're using it, or you're actively planning to use it. And of course you should be. But how to use it with the same care and deliberateness that we bring to the other risks in our business? That's the question. Because AI is now running inside our operations in ways that really matter. And most of us haven't applied the same level of scrutiny to those AI workflows that we'd apply to, say, a swimming pool, a latch on a swimming pool gate or a smoke detector. So that's where I want to go to today. So let's kick off. I want to spend a few minutes to start with on what AI safety actually means in this business, because I think the phrase AI safety tends to call up images of science fiction scenarios, rogue robots and systems going ahead. That's not what I'm talking about. In short-term rental business, AI safety is 4 things. The first one is guest safety. This means the physical and emotional well-being of the people staying in the properties. If AI is handling communications, and increasingly it is, at all hours of the day and night, and it gets something wrong at a critical moment, the consequences can be very real. This is not theoretical. These consequences are real. So the second is information safety. This is about the integrity of the data your business relies on. When AI outputs are wrong, and they will be wrong sometimes, that's not a flaw in the system, it's a characteristic of the technology. And the question is whether a human catches that error before it causes any damage. And sometimes the answer is yes. Sometimes just nobody's watching. So the third one is operational safety, which is about the reliability of your business as a whole. It's what happens when you over-rely on tools you haven't properly evaluated, or when automation bypasses human judgment at exactly the moment that human judgment is most needed. The fourth one is brand safety, your reputation and the trust you've built with guests and owners over years. So one publicly visible AI failure, such as an automated response to a serious complaint that feels dismissive and impersonal, or a reply that contains wrong information and the guest points it out publicly, those are the things that can undo months of careful work. So if you've been listening to me for any time, you'll know I've had the great privilege of talking with Justin Ford many, many times about physical property safety. There's even a saying in our household, which is, what would Justin say? Or WWJS. Justin has done more than anybody else to help this industry take safety seriously. And what his work has always emphasised is that safety doesn't happen by accident. It has to be designed. You put the smoke detector in before the fire, not after, and you fix the pool gate latch before the season opens, not when someone calls you to tell you it's broken. AI safety works in exactly the same way. It's just that the risks are less visible. They don't show up on a property walkthrough, but the principle's identical. You have to design for it deliberately before the incident, not in response to one. So most experienced short-term rental operators are really good at the safety they see. There may be a broken step, the missing grip strip, the fire extinguisher in the wrong location. And we've built habits around those things. So what I want to talk about today is the safety you can't see, the safety of the workflows that are running in your business right now, handling guest communication or triaging maintenance requests. Maybe they're drafting responses, and maybe they're making small decisions at 2 a.m. when no one's watching. So I want to share 4 scenarios with you. Each one is a different kind of AI safety failure. None of them are overly dramatic. All of them are entirely preventable. And by the end, I want to give you a practical framework for assessing your own workflows before something goes wrong. So scenario 1 we call the power outage. So picture this. A property management company has implemented an AI assistant to handle after-hours guest inquiries. And it's a Saturday evening. And in one of their rural properties, There's a family booking. It's a couple with a very young child. And there's a bit of a storm and the power goes out. It's completely dark. And the guest message the company. They don't realise they're messaging the AI assistant to ask what to do, but they're understandably anxious and they send a message. The AI searches its knowledge base. It finds information about the property's circuit breaker, which is located in an external utility cupboard. It's all described in the property notes. So it gives the guests detailed instructions for resetting the breaker, including the location of the key to open the cupboard. But what the AI doesn't know is that the utility cupboard was relocated 18 months previous, and the property notes just hadn't been updated. In fact, the owners had probably not even thought about letting the company know when they relocated this cupboard. So the guest spends 20 minutes outside in the dark while their young child is getting increasingly upset, trying to find a cupboard that no longer exists in that location. So yeah, clearly something went wrong here, but I want to be really clear. It wasn't the AI. The AI did exactly what it was designed to do. It searched the knowledge base, it found the relevant information and gave a really confident answer. But 3 things failed along the way, and none of them were technically the AI's fault. So firstly, the knowledge base wasn't current. Secondly, there was no escalation trigger for a power outage at night with a child in the property. And the assumption, which was never explicitly made but just baked into the design, was that the AI could actually handle that sort of situation end to end. Think about it in terms of Justin Ford's world for a moment. If the pool gate latch was broken and somebody had flagged it 6 months ago, but nobody updated the maintenance log, you wouldn't blame the pool. The system failed. And the same is true here. The tool was fine. The system around the tool had gaps in it, though. A knowledge base that nobody had reviewed after a property change, or in fact, going back one step, a change that the owner hadn't brought to the company's attention. And there was no rule as well that said a power outage at night always goes to a human. So quite a number of failures here that could have been easily prevented. And having said that, the fix in many of these situations is not complicated. And in this one, there was a current knowledge base, which meant somebody had responsibility for updating it whenever a change happens at a property. An escalation rule for specific scenarios, including power outages, a list of queries that never get handled end-to-end by AI. None of those things require advanced capability. They just should be part of the deliberate design. And once again, stepping back, a system that has an owner connecting with the company every time they make a change, however small. It's the kind of design you'd give to a property walkthrough at the start of a season. So here's scenario 2, which we call the maintenance misclassification. So guest messages during a mid-stay, and their exact words are, "There's a funny smell in the utility room. I'm not sure if it's always like that." What they're just doing is letting you know. And the AI triage system reads the message, assesses it as low urgency, maybe more curiosity rather than complaint, and it routes it to the standard maintenance queue for the following week. In this situation, it was a gas smell. But there was no alarming language in the guest message, no urgency in how they expressed it. They just weren't sure whether it was normal, and they said so. Nothing in the message triggered any escalation keywords. But a gas smell in a utility room is a Tier 3 situation, regardless of how the guest phrases it. And later on in this episode, I'm going to be talking about Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3 situations. But this is the thing about AI triage. It interprets language. And the language people use when they're not sure whether something is wrong is very different from the language they use when they know something is wrong. Your AI system might be beautifully calibrated to catch messages that say emergency, or unsafe, or I'm frightened, or I'm scared. But most people, in an ambiguous situation, don't use those words. They say, "Oh, I'm not sure if it's always like that." Justin Ford's work on physical safety has always emphasised this. You don't wait for a guest to say, "I think there might be a fire," before you install a smoke detector. The detector is designed to catch what the guest can't articulate. And the AI equivalent is designing escalation triggers that catch the ambiguous message, the polite, the uncertain, the "it's probably nothing" message, and route it to a human who can then make a judgment call. That's not something AI can reliably do on its own. It has to be built into the design. So scenario 3 is a little less dramatic. It's called the shadow AI problem. But it's very common, and I'd be surprised if it isn't happening in some form in most businesses right now. So the guest services coordinator is handling a difficult guest complaint. It's Friday afternoon. She's under pressure. Most of her colleagues have left for the day, and there's nobody she can ask for help. So she opens a free AI tool she's been using on her phone. It's not the company-approved platform, but it's just something she found a few weeks ago, and she's been using it at home, and it gives excellent results really fast. So she pastes in the full guest message, the guest name, the booking reference, property address, details of what went wrong, and some quite personal information from the guest about why this trip matters to them. And the AI produces a brilliant draft response. She's nailed it. She sends it. Crisis has been managed. She gets ready to go home. What she didn't know, that free tool stores all these inputs and uses them to improve its model. Everything she pasted in, all those private details, the guest's name, contact details, details of their difficult personal experience, is now in a system the company doesn't control, it didn't vet, and the guest certainly never agreed to it. In this situation, nobody did anything malicious. The coordinator was just trying to do her job well, under pressure, with the best tool that she had available. But the company now has a data exposure it doesn't even know about. And this is what's called shadow AI. Tools are entering your business through the side door, and they're carried in by very well-meaning team members who are just trying to get things done. And it's one of the most common and least visible risks in our operations right now, precisely because the people introducing these tools aren't doing it with any bad intent. They're doing it because the tools are genuinely useful. So the answer isn't to ban AI tools outside the approved list in a way that makes people feel punished or they've done something bad. It's to make those approved tools genuinely accessible and good enough so there's no reason to go elsewhere, and to build clear guidelines around what can and can't be shared with any AI tool, whether it's approved or not. And these are things like guest names and booking references and contact details. They should never go into any tool that hasn't been vetted, full stop. And the easier you make that rule to follow, the more reliably it's going to get followed. And as I say, you don't want to make people feel bad because they are resorting to a tool that they have found is effective. So a simple tip here is to take an hour or two, get all your team in one room with a big whiteboard and brainstorm every tool they use, and get every person to talk about what's good about it, why they use it, why they enjoy it, why they feel it delivers good outputs, and then go through each one. It's something that we talk about in the AI Ambassador course, AI Ambassador program. I'm going to mention that a little bit later on. But it's a great exercise, and it gets everything that may become shadow AI right out into the open. So here's scenario 4. We've called this the midnight security message, and I want to finish with this one because it's the scenario that I think makes the human in the loop principle most vivid. When I was running Cottage Link rental management a number of years ago, we had a lot of remote properties that were 15, 20 miles down dirt roads. People booked them because they were remote. And we were very conscious that people could go to these places and find that they weren't exactly what they expected. They're very dark. There is no traffic noise. It's very quiet. We were very conscious of this. So we were always there for them. If we got the call that said, I feel a little uncomfortable here. So I just want you to keep that in mind while I talk about this scenario. So we have a remote cabin. There's a family, 2 adults, 2 children. And just before midnight on a midweek, a message comes in. And the guest says that there's someone in the yard. I can see movement through the window. And they don't know what to do. They just want some help. But your AI system receives the message. So it analyzes the text, it identifies it rightly as a security concern, and then first of all it generates a response from the security template. And that response is polite, it's professionally worded, and it suggests the guest check the exterior lighting settings. And it provides a link to the noise complaint process and reassures them that properties in the area are very safe. That is a human-in-the-loop failure. Not because the AI did something wrong by its own standards. It identified the correct category and produced a coherent response. But because no human was watching, no human applied judgment. No human asked the most important question in that moment, which wasn't, what category is this message? It was, is this family okay? Do they feel safe? The right response to that message is not a template. It's an immediate alert to someone on call. It's a phone call, not a follow-up message. It's a human voice on the other end of the line that changes the dynamic of the situation entirely, that tells a frightened family in a remote property that someone real is paying attention to them right now. That is something that can't be automated. And the moment you build a system that allows AI to handle security messages without immediate human escalation, you've created a liability that no terms and conditions can protect you from. Some moments require a human, not as a backup, not as a quality check, but as the primary response, and this is one of them. Here's something worth considering. If you're still getting most of your bookings through Airbnb or Vrbo, you're giving away a significant chunk of every reservation in commission fees. And the more you grow, the more that matters. But here's what the hosts who are genuinely thriving right now have worked out. You can build your own direct booking channel, own your guest relationships, and stop letting the platforms take their cut. That is exactly what Lodgify is built for. It's an all-in-one vacation rental platform. You get your own professional booking website, a channel manager that keeps Airbnb, Vrbo and Booking.com all in sync, automated guest messaging, and a unified inbox so you're not bouncing between 6 different apps. Whether you've got one property or more, it makes running your business a great deal cleaner. And right now, through April the 30th, you can get 60% off with code VRS60 on all their yearly and bi-yearly ultimate and professional plans. If you've been thinking about making the switch, this is a genuinely good moment to do it. Click the link in the show notes to get started. So, across those 4 scenarios, you've got 4 different failure types. An outdated knowledge base, a misclassified maintenance urgency, a data exposure through an unapproved tool, and a human-in-the-loop failure at exactly the wrong moment. What ties them together is a simple question that wasn't asked before the workflow was designed. Who is responsible for this situation when AI gets it wrong? And the most useful framework I've found for answering that question is what I call the review ladder. It's a way of categorizing every AI workflow in your business into 3 tiers and making sure everyone on your team knows which level of human involvement each tier requires. Tier 1 is where AI can act independently. And these are routine, low-stakes, high-volume tasks. Things like standard FAQ responses or automated confirmation messages, pre-arrival information, calendar updates. AI can handle these end-to-end. And a human just reviews them periodically to check quality, but doesn't need to approve every output. These are the tasks where AI genuinely earns back your time. Tier 2 is where AI drafts and a human approves. And these are situations where AI can do the groundwork, but a human must review before anything goes out or any action is taken. Guest complaints, maybe, owner reports, communications about bookings that have been changed or disrupted, pricing recommendations. The human is actively in the loop, not just notionally. And then Tier 3 is where a human gets to lead it entirely, and AI is there but just assists. Talk about safety incidents, security concerns, discrimination complaints, refund disputes, owner relationship issues, anything where legal, reputational, or emotional stakes are high. In these moments, AI can help you summarize and suggest and organize. But a human makes every significant decision and leads every significant conversation. And the question I invite you to sit with after this episode is, are there workflows in your business right now that are Tier 3 situations being handled as Tier 1? The midnight security message in that scenario was being treated as a Tier 1 task. AI responds and there was no human review. It should have been Tier 3 from the moment it was designed, but nobody had written that down. So make sure everyone on your team knows which tier applies to the tasks they're working on, and review it every time you add a new tool or a new workflow, because a tier doesn't always stay the same as your operation changes. So I want to give you something specific to take away from this episode. So these are 6 questions I would really encourage you to run through before you launch any new AI workflow in your business. Before you go live with a new tool or a new automation or a new process. And here they are. So the first question is, could this affect guest safety? Not just obviously, but at all. If an AI output in this workflow were wrong, is there any path through which a guest could be harmed or frightened or put at risk? Second, could this expose sensitive information? Does the tool have access to data it doesn't strictly need? Could an output inadvertently reveal something that it shouldn't? Could this harm somebody if it gets something wrong? And is that harm minor and recoverable or serious and lasting? Now that is a big difference between an AI that gets a house rule slightly wrong and one that gives a guest incorrect emergency guidance. Is there human backup? For every AI workflow, there should be a clear, known, reachable human who can step in when the system can't handle something or gets it wrong. Not a theoretical escalation path, but an actual person with an actual phone number. Next, is there an escalation path for high-risk moments? Not just a general sense that escalation is possible, but a defined, tested route from AI to human, and a team that knows how to trigger it. And finally, have we tested failure scenarios? Not just tested how the tool works, but tested what happens when it doesn't, when the knowledge base is out of date, when the guest message is ambiguous, or when something falls outside the patterns the AI was trained on. If you can answer yes to all 6 of these, you're ready to launch. If you can't, you've got more design work to do. And I'd rather you do that work before something goes wrong rather than after. And do remember that while this applies to workflows you might be working on to create some Claude skills or gems in Google Workspace or maybe some custom GPTs, it also applies to any time you use a third-party platform that has AI baked into it. Before you pass your money over, you need to ask the provider those questions. It's not a bureaucratic checklist. It's the AI equivalent of the property walkthrough before the season starts. You wouldn't open a property and have guests go in for a stay without first checking the property. So please don't launch an AI workflow without running through these either. So the operators who've been in this industry for a long time know that physical safety culture didn't arrive fully formed. It took incidents and near misses and people like Justin standing in front of rooms full of property managers and saying, this matters and here's why. Here's what you need to do. And over time, an industry has built habits around it. And safety has become something that's being designed for as default and not something just being thought about when something goes wrong. Justin might dispute this, but what he says is really having impact. And although it's a work in progress, and there are many hosts and property managers who aren't paying significant attention to safety, it's going in the right direction. But AI safety is just at the very beginning of that same curve. Most businesses aren't there yet or even started. Most haven't had their power outage scenario or their midnight security message, but many have and many more will. The operators who come out of those moments in the best shape are the ones who already asked the questions. The ones who'd already written down which workflows were tier 1 and which were tier 3. They're the ones who'd already made sure the knowledge base was current and the escalation triggers were built and the team felt empowered to push back when something didn't feel right. That is not a big investment. It's an afternoon of deliberate thinking about the systems you already have. But it's the kind of thinking that doesn't happen automatically, especially when you're immersed in a world where the next exciting tool is just always one tab away. So here's a question I want to leave you with. If something went wrong in your AI workflows tonight, would your team know what to do? If the answer is yes, you've done this work. You've thought it through, you've written it down, and that's brilliant. But if the answer is, oh, probably, or I think so, or worst case, honestly, I'm not sure, this is your season opener walkthrough. Go do it. So I want to add here that doing an episode on safety and security and risk management a couple of months ago wouldn't have seemed something that I would feel passionate about. It was something that had to be done. And I just want to share that when I was creating the AI Ambassador program, I knew I had to create a module on this topic. And I quite honestly was not looking forward to it. I wanted to make it interesting, but in my heart I was thinking, how can I do that? How can I make this exciting and something that's really relevant that people will listen to? Once I started putting the material together, once I started doing the videos and planning how I was going to share this with my students, it suddenly hit home that this was probably the most interesting part of the course, because it was something that so few people have even considered. So it's like I'm bringing something new and exciting and something that people are going to sit and listen to and nod and say, yes, I need to go do something about this. For anybody who's interested in the next cohort of the AI Ambassador program, it's going to start in mid-May. I think it's around about May the 15th, but we'll be sending information out shortly. And just to give you a brief rundown of what's involved, it's 7 weeks of education. Each week has a particular theme and some videos that you can work through in your own time. And then each week we have a live discussion. We have a live workshop, coaching, whatever you want to call it, where we cover off the things that were taught in that week and work through problems and questions, and I share some solutions. This program is not about building your AI agents. There is a little about building some assistants, but you certainly learn the difference between the two. But just briefly, in week 1, we look at your mindset about AI. and the importance of coming into AI adoption with the right mindset. In week 2, we talk about building your business knowledge, your business DNA. In the first cohort, I called it a business wiki. I'm rewriting week 2 right now. We're talking about the business DNA, the knowledge that everybody has that mostly sits in people's heads. And then we discuss how best to get that out and put it into a format that AI can understand. And that creates your consistency in tone and response and brand and voice. In week 3, we do a AI audit to see what's already working in the organization. It's at that point we begin looking at shadow AI and what people are using and doing an audit to find out if any of that is worthwhile considering. And lots more. I did enjoy that audit section because it really brings to light the knowledge that all the people have in your organization about AI, because everybody's using it. And you want to bring that in and create something that's really going to work positively for your company. In week 4, we go through that audit and then we pull out the workflows that you're currently doing and identify the workflows that may be causing a bottleneck or some friction, and figure out ways in which to manage those by using AI. Week 5 is communication. That's where we share ideas on how to manage objections by people on your team, perhaps, who don't want to use AI or don't want to use a particular platform that maybe you're suggesting. So it's methods of being the cheerleader, being the advocate for good AI in your workplace and communicating that to your team or to your C-suite, or if you are a leader, communicating back down to the people who are going to be using the platforms. Week 6 is ethics, security, risk, and safety in AI use. And as I said, it was the most eye-opening week for me when I created the course. And in week 7, we try and bring it all together and say, okay, where are you now? Because I don't expect over the course of 6 weeks that you're going to do all this work, put everything in place. Basically, giving you the knowledge to then take it forward and think about creating a 30-day plan to take a workflow, begin to work on it, and decide maybe whether it's a tier 1, 2, or 3, and then how you're going to use AI in the most impactful way. And then you get the following 9 months of group coaching every month. So that's a lot packed in to a program. We really enjoyed the first cohort. Some of our first cohort are joining us for the second as well, just to catch up in places, but also to come along to the group sessions to offer their wisdom. And I learned a lot from this first round of students who started doing things with AI that I hadn't considered. So if you want more information, go to the show notes. You can click on a link that will take you to a page telling you all about the program, allowing you to sign up. If you're unsure and you'd like a conversation with me about it, then you can schedule a day and time to have that. And what would happen in that conversation is that I just explore with you where you are in your AI journey, personally as well as within your company. And then we discuss whether this would be the right path forward for you. So I'm hoping that I see some of you listening in some of the group coaching calls that we will be doing from about May the 15th onwards. If you're going to VR Nation in Denver at the end of the month, I will be talking about foundations of AI in your business. And so please come along after, talk to me, let me know that you're a listener to the podcast. We'll have a conversation. I really look forward to meeting you. So thank you once again. Thank you to Logify for sponsoring this episode, and I will see you again next week. It's been a pleasure as ever being with you. If there's anything you'd like to comment on, then join the conversation on the show notes for the episode at vacationrentalformula.com. We'd love to hear from you, and I look forward to being with you again next week.